once again, and welcome to this session where we're going to take a look at the minor key 251 and 6251 chord progressions in arpeggios. In the course of this we'll introduce our final triad arpeggio form, that's the minor flat 5. Once more, for the sake of variety, we're going to illustrate this using some examples of open position arpeggios in a new key. Our last key was F sharp minor, so moving one step round the cycle of fifths we come to C sharp minor, that is the relative minor of E major. The chords of the 251 progression will then be D sharp minor flat 5, G sharp major, once again substituting the major for the minor 5 chord, and C sharp minor. Here's a slightly more unusual voicing of the C sharp minor chord using just the top 4 strings in the open position. So here we have the minor third in the bass, and the root C sharp appears on string 2, fret 2. Now if we use suitable voicings on the top 4 strings for the D sharp minor flat 5, here it is in the first inversion, and the G sharp major here in the second inversion with the 5th D sharp in the bass. You can play the whole 251 chord progression in the open position. You'll notice that although they fall within the first 4 fret spaces, the D sharp minor flat 5 and the G sharp chords don't use any open strings, so these are actually transposable voicings. Now on to the arpeggios, beginning with the D sharp minor flat 5. Here's our D sharp at fret 1 string 4, the minor third of F sharp then falls on fret 4, the flat and 5th of A natural, fret 2 string 3, and finally the octave D sharp at fret 4 string 2. G sharp we can play over 2 octaves in the open position, so we begin fret 4 string 6, the major third at fret 3 string 5. This is a C natural, but as we're in the key of C sharp we can avoid any confusion by calling it a B sharp. Then comes the 5th D sharp at fret 1 string 4 and the octave G sharp, fret 1 string 3. Or using the second finger to play the octave. In the upper octave we begin on fret 1 string 3, the major third B sharp then falls fret 1 string 2 with either the first or second finger, or and the 5th D sharp and octave G sharp at fret 4 on strings 2 and 1 with finger 4 or fingers 3 and 4. And finally the C sharp minor. Now we met the C sharp major arpeggio as the arpeggio for the 5 chord in the key of F sharp minor, so we just change that to a minor chord by lowering the third. This gives us C sharp at fret 4 string 5, minor third of E natural at fret 2 string 4, the 5th G sharp, fret 1 string 3, and finally the octave C sharp, fret 2 string 2. Now let's see how the fingering works when we follow the chord progression using these arpeggios. Right, straight away, if we want to play the G sharp arpeggio in the lower octave, we now have to get from fret 4 string 2 to fret 4 string 6, and in the usual way we can use fingers 3 and 2 in place of fingers 4 and 3 to play the G sharp arpeggio. And then the C sharp minor, and no problems there. The arpeggios in the descending form. We now have the issue if we want to repeat the cycle of getting from fret 4 string 5 to fret 4 string 2. And here we can use finger 3 again to play the low C sharp, freeing up finger 4 to reach back to the high D sharp. And so on round the cycle, playing back and forth. If you follow my example of ending each arpeggio on the third before moving on to the root of the next one, you'll find the D sharp minor flat 5 arpeggio ends on finger 4, so once again we use fingers 3 and 2 to begin the G sharp arpeggio. Now with the G sharp major arpeggio in the upper octave, we now need to get from string 1 fret 4 to string 5 fret 4, and once again the third finger is brought in to do the job. The arpeggios descending, the D sharp minor flat 5 and C sharp minor arpeggios, haven't changed, so once again we use the third finger to finish the C sharp minor arpeggio, allowing us to repeat the cycle beginning with finger 4 for the D sharp. Etc. Playing the arpeggios back and forth, there's no problem. This 2-5-1 progression becomes a 6-2-5-1 progression by adding the 6th major chord, that's A major. Using the conventional open position for A major, we can play the whole of this progression in the open position. But we're going to move on round the cycle of fifths and look at the 6-2-5-1 progression in the new key of A flat minor. This brings us to a position in the cycle of fifths where there's an overlap between the sharp keys and the flat keys. Let me try and make that a little bit clearer. The key of A flat minor is the relative minor key of C flat major, and C flat is the key with all of the notes flattened, that is to say there are 7 flats in the key signature. A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, and back to A flat. But you'll also have spotted that C flat, of course, is the same note as B natural. The key signature for B major has 5 sharps in it, and we could equally consider this new key to be the relative minor of B major. That would be G sharp minor, with the notes G sharp, A sharp, B natural, C sharp, D sharp, E natural, F sharp, and back to G sharp. So whether we treat this key as being key of G sharp minor with 5 sharps or the key of A flat minor with 7 flats is really an arbitrary one, and I've chosen to go with A flat. This means that the chords of the 6-2-5-1 progression are F flat major, B flat minor flat 5, E flat, and A flat minor. Here's one possible voicing for that progression. We can play the F flat as our simple open position. E major. The B flat minor flat 5 can be played in the open position here. This is in root position with the root on string 5. If we include the open E, or as we're now calling it, F flat string at the bottom, we get the chord in second inversion, that is with the flat 5th in the bass. Alternatively, by leaving out both the top and bottom E strings and just playing this chord across the middle 4 strings, we have a transposable voicing for the minor flat 5 triad chord. E flat can be played here. Here I'm simply taking the open D shape, moving it up a fret and playing the third at fret 5, string 4, to make this a first inversion chord. And this is moving us nicely towards the A flat minor in the familiar bar chord position with the root on string 6. And so on to the arpeggios. Well, F flat is the same as E natural. We've already looked at the E minor arpeggio, so our F flat major arpeggio will simply involve replacing the minor third of E with a major third, that is to say this A flat fret 4 string 6. Then our fifth is C flat, that's the same note as B natural, fret 2, string 5, and the octave F flat, fret 2, string 4. In the upper octave, our third of A flat is at fret 1, string 3, and the fifth an octave, open strings 2 and 1. The B flat minor, flat 5, begins with our B flat, fret 1, string 5, the minor third, D flat, at fret 4, string 5, the flattened fifth, F flat, fret 2, string 4, and finally the octave B flat at fret 3, string 3. Our E flat major arpeggio begins up one more string at fret 1, string 4. And now we're substituting a major third, so we have the open G string. Now although we've got a G flat in the key, there's really no alternative name for this other than G natural. Then the fifth of B flat, fret 3, string 3, and finally the octave E flat, fret 4, string 2. Lastly, the A flat minor begins fret 4, string 6, the minor third at C flat, fret 2, string 5, the fifth of E flat at fret 1, string 4, and the octave A flat, fret 1, string 3. In the upper octave we begin at fret 1, string 3, and then the minor third, fifth and octave fall on fret 4 on the top 3 strings. But if you want to avoid playing 3 consecutive notes with your little finger, you can now play the C flat on the open B string and then the fifth and octave using fingers 3 and 4. Now playing the complete progression in arpeggios, firstly with the F flat and A flat arpeggios in the bottom octave. And here's a very familiar situation. We need to get from fret 4, string 2 to fret 4, string 6, and we use the usual solution of the third finger. With the arpeggios descending, there, so arpeggios back and forth. So no problems there. Now taking the F flat and A flat arpeggios into the upper octave, the ascending and descending patterns don't introduce any new fingering problems. Just one thing to address in the back and forth pattern. Again, if we're following the example of finishing each arpeggio on the third, when we go from the F flat to the B flat minor flat 5, we need to jump from string 3 to string 5 on fret 1, and we can simplify this by playing the final A flat, that's the third of the F flat arpeggio, with the second finger. Well, that wraps up today's session. In the next video we're going to conclude our triad arpeggio work by looking at the transposable fingerings of the minor flat 5 triad and fitting it into the context of the 251 and 6251 minor key chord progressions, after which we'll be moving on to 7th chord arpeggios. As ever, thank you for watching, and I look forward to our next meeting.